Hi, this is Felicia with Concepts in Health. Welcome to my presentation today, which is all about how to reduce your sugar load. Here we are, a brand new year, new you. That's what a lot of people like to think about. You know, it's just natural to make a new start when we're starting our calendar over. So with that in mind, I wanted to tackle something that is really a huge problem in our diet today. You know, we have over 600,000 choices on the grocery store shelves in the form of boxes, bottles, cans, and bags in processed foods. And in over 80% of those foods, in the form of some 50 to 60 different terms on the label, is added sugar. It's huge. You know, around the turn of the century, most people got their sugar from natural sources like fruit mostly, and some small sources like honey and other things. But the main thing to think about is that they only took in about 15 grams a day. We have quadrupled plus that. Most of the time we're getting 70 to 80 grams a day, and that is on the low side for some people who are really sugar addicted. So it's a huge problem, and it's causing a lot of problems in our health at the metabolic level. So what I want to do today is just give you a few tips. I've tried to keep it between, I think, 5 and 7 for reducing that sugar load. The first thing is to realize where your hidden sources of sugar are and just how much sugar you may be taking in. And to do that, I wanted to demonstrate what for a lot of people may be just a typical day of eating, not necessarily one that they would consider as being huge amounts of sugar being taken in that day. But let's just see what happens when we add up some common items that people have in their diet on a regular basis. And we'll start with breakfast, and we'll just go through the day. Let's say at breakfast you wake up and you drink 6 ounces of orange juice. Okay, so with that, you've taken in about 15.6 grams of sugar right there. And let's say you have some coffee after that, and you just add maybe a teaspoon of sugar in your coffee. Not much. Most people probably add more. We can add another 4 grams there. All right, you have some whole wheat toast, and perhaps you want to put some jam on that toast. Let's just allow a tablespoon of jam, which is not that much, especially if you have a couple of pieces of toast. So we're just going to say a tablespoon of jam on your toast is another 13 grams. And I'm just doing averages. Some might come in lower, but some might come in higher. So I've looked up averages on this. All right, and let's say you either have cereal or 6 ounces of, let's say 6 ounces of low-fat strawberry yogurt. And I use Yoplait as an example. If you had a bowl of cereal, you would probably come somewhere in near this too. So I'm going to say 67 grams for that, for a fruit-flavored, low-fat yogurt, just 6 ounces, the small container. So there's some combination that you might have with your breakfast. Let's say for lunch, and you know, I know there's a lot of room here for people's lunches, but let's say you're going to have, I just tried to keep it simple. I'm not even going to count bread on a sandwich. All I'm going to say is that you had about a tablespoon of some kind of sugar-added tomato product, whether that was pasta with marinara sauce, whether that was some French fries with some ketchup, whether that was a barbecue sandwich with some barbecue sauce. Look at it how you may. I'm going to just say you may have fit in that day a tablespoon or so of some kind of tomato sauce product, and I'm really abbreviating on the board here, guys. Add a tablespoon. You're going to come in somewhere around 6 grams there. And I'm being very, very conservative here because you're probably going to come in with more grams of sugar in your lunch than that, unless you're just eating like raw foods or homemade foods totally. Okay, afternoon snack, I'm going to skip back down. Say you get a granola bar. I use Nature's Valley Oats and Honey granola bar, which most people look at that as even, got to be slightly healthy, right? Okay, that comes in another 11 grams. And let's say, okay, tonight you're feeling really healthy. You're just going to have a baked potato, a steak, a piece of chicken, some vegetables. You're going to have a salad, and you're going to put about a tablespoon. Most people put more, way more, but about a tablespoon of some Italian vinaigrette on that. Not much fat in that, right? That chalks up to 7 grams. We'll just put salad dress here. All right, if I did my addition right, we're hitting about 84 grams of sugar with that little day's menu, or about 20, and I'm being conservative again, really closer to 21 teaspoons of sugar there, okay? If you want to put 21 teaspoons of sugar out of your sugar bowl into a cup and see what you've had. Yikes, guys, there were no sodas in this. We didn't stop for ice cream or a piece of carrot cake with our coffee. We didn't do this. This would be by most people considered a skinny day. This is a good day. And look how much we're getting. More than our grandparents or great grandparents did by quadruple plus from the turn of the century. Okay, so your hidden sources. That's what we've got to do. And this leads me, we've got to eliminate these things. Have to. You know, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's all around us. Yes, we live a fast food lifestyle, a convenience lifestyle. No, our great grandparents did not have to deal with this. They did not have to think about it. When a sweet came along their way in the Christmas stocking or for the kids or whatever, it was truly a treat. Truly a treat. Guys, you know, sugar in itself is not evil, but we have invited it to not only all our parties, we've invited it to all of our meals. And so we've got to back up and invite it to just some of the parties, not even all of the parties, but certainly not every day. We have to make very conscious decisions every day to eliminate these hidden sugars. And so that leads to my next point, which is read labels. We must read labels. It's going to take us longer to shop. We can read them before we leave for the store. It's going to be a habit we have to make because not only are we looking for these hidden sources of sugar, I don't have time to do it on this video, but you need to know what all the names of the sugar, dextrose, sucrose, fructose, all of these different names that are in there. We need to look for them. We also need to be conscious by reading labels that not everything we think is one serving is necessarily one serving. You pick up a vitamin water or some kind of bottled tea or something like it's normally at least 2 servings in there and sometimes 3. But we're drinking the whole thing. So you are quadrupling, you're tripling that 20 to 30 grams of sugar in a typical sweetened beverage. Wow, that's huge. You just blew this out of the water with one beverage. Okay, so read labels. I just alluded to my third tip, which is don't drink your sugar. Don't drink your sugar. You know, let's go back to water. Even milk has a good bit of sugar in it, you know, not as much as the sweetened sodas. Alcohol doesn't have that much. It's a topic for another day about how it metabolizes. It's kind of a misnomer that it metabolizes straight into sugar. It does not. The reason it affects our blood sugar is because our liver gives detoxifying that alcohol because it's like a poison top priority. Since it gives it priority, then it messes with our blood sugar while we're trying to metabolize other things that we may have eaten. Now, when you introduce sweet drinks, sweet alcoholic drinks into that equation, like daiquiris and you know your little specialty drinks, yeah, then you're getting a load of sugar and the alcohol. Big boom, bad, worse. Because then your liver is trying to deal with those two things. But you know, right now let's just talk about fruit juice. That OJ, just 6 ounces, was 15.6 grams. Apple juice, even more. You know, sodas, don't replace with artificial sweeteners. You're introducing a whole other set of bad things. Your body considers it that you've had nothing, and yet it aggravates your sweet tooth and your desire to have more sweet because it didn't quite fit the bill. Your body knows when you're trying to lie to it with these artificial sweeteners. So really you just have to try to be disciplined and not drink your sugars. Don't be fooled by healthy sounding sugars like agave. It does about the same thing in your body as table sugar does. There is a place for the more natural sugars than that, like the honey and the coconut sugar and some maple syrup, but those are used definitely in moderation. And if you left it with that, then you'd have a hard time getting too much, you know, unless you're going to pour maple syrup on every single thing. Another thing that's hugely important, I probably should have covered this one next because this is about like right up there on the top of the list. Please avoid low-fat foods. Low fat, when they remove the fat, which we need anyway, if it's a good fat, the low fat, you know, I hope all of you are realizing that's a myth from 30 or 40 years ago, and we need to revisit the whole fat versus sugar, you know, who's the villain here. But again, a topic for another day. Suffice it to say right now that if you are eating low-fat foods, you are eating, on average, 20 to 40% more sugar in that same food. For instance, I just took a couple of items. A Starbucks blueberry muffin, okay, has 28.1 grams of sugar. Enough right there, almost 5 teaspoons. But you get the low-fat version, and you're upping that to 34.7 grams. Okay, a typical brand of peanut butter that's not low-fat is going to have 5.5 grams of sugar. If you get a low-fat version of that peanut butter, you can triple that, in excess of 15.2 or 2.5 teaspoons of sugar. A vinaigrette dressing, if you go for the regular, you're going to get about 1.58 grams of sugar. If you go for the low-fat vinaigrette, which I used in my example, a lower sugar version of a low fat, but typically it's going to have like 15.6 grams or 3.5 teaspoons more in the low fat version than in the full fat version. Full fat dairy is better for you for more reasons than just lower sugar. Avoid low fat. Go for the whole fats. You'll feel satiated. You won't have, with less product, you won't have the sugar there. And I would say the last tip that I'll cover today, I could cover many more, but I want to keep it short, is to eat at home. Eat at home as much as possible, because your versions of gravies, your versions of soups, your versions of vegetables, your versions of homemade sauces, salsas, make it at home as much as you can, homemade versions. And when you add your own sugar, it will be hard to get too much in these quantities, like in the processed foods. And also, you're going to improve your sodium intake, which we all need salt, and more salt in good forms than most people get, but not the kind that are in processed foods. Okay, so I won't digress to that, but there are many reasons to have homemade foods as often as possible. Make them in advance, store them, freeze them, keep them in the fridge, and you will go a long way toward avoiding a day that you thought was good, but turns out not so much. Now, let me remind you before we go today to follow me. Follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/conceptsinhealth. Also, if you'll follow my blog at conceptsinhealth.blogspot.com. And hopefully you're going to see me on a regular basis this year in these videos. And I hope to see you liking my Facebook page and following me on my blog. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.